one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll, please, Mark.
Chris Wolf.
Here.
Ben Charneski.
Here.
Chris Iden.
Here.
Tim Shaw.
Tim,
Oh.
Here.
you got called. How do you like
Alex
that?
Benvick.
Here.
Kelly
missed
Black.
me, I could tell.
Absent. Aaron Mishka.
Here.
Cindy Kuchowski. Here.
All right, item number 2, announcement closed session later on in the agenda. Item number 3, public comment.
That was
From the microphone, make sure you state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to convey your message. Start with Guy Fidel, I believe Bobby
Guy W. Friedel, 2240 Ruby Drive, Kronenwetter, Wisconsin. The consent agenda item regarding a proposed resolution prepared by Bobby Burke Labarge to appoint Bobby Burke Labarge to a 2-year term as a village clerk and to appoint Lisa Kirstner to a 2-year term as village treasurer is not consistent with the provisions of Village of Kronenwetter Charter Ordinance 01-002. Therefore, the proposed resolution should not even be considered by the village board and certainly should not be voted on. In pertinent part, the charter ordinance provides that, quotes, "The village clerk shall be appointed by the village president at the village's organizational meeting in April of even number years, subject to confirmation by a 2/3 majority vote of the members of the village board. The village clerk shall hold office for a 2-year term, subject to removal as provided by law." Quotes, "The village treasurer shall be appointed by the village president at the village organizational meeting in April of even numbered years, subject to confirmation by a 2/3 vote of the members of the village board. The village treasurer shall hold office for a 2-year term, subject to removal as provided by law." Moreover, it is my opinion that it is totally inappropriate for Bobby Burke Labarge to have prepared a resolution to appoint herself to a new 2-year term as village clerk. There is a severe conflict of interest for Clerk Labarge and may represent misconduct in office under state statute. I request that the village board place a formal letter in Clerk Labarge's personnel file about her presenting this resolution as representing not only a substantial financial conflict of interest, but also a possible misconduct in office situation. Clerk Labarge, in my opinion, has no statutory authority to submit such a resolution and is trying to gain an unfair advantage for herself by proposing a resolution to reappoint herself as clerk. This resolution would provide substantial financial benefit to Clerk Labarge. I also ask the village board place a formal letter in Clerk Labarge's personnel file about her antagonistic, divisive, and threatening comments towards Trustee Charneski at the May 13th, 2024 village board meeting. These comments, in my opinion, create a hostile work environment at the municipal center and hinder the performance of Trustee Charneski's duties as a village trustee. I request that the audio of that meeting be included as an attachment to that letter. My comments are not directed at Lisa Kirstner, who I regard as a dedicated public servant and as an asset to the village of Kronenwetter. Guy Fidel, June 10th, 2024. You're welcome.
Next up, Bernie Kramer. Meeting is Bernie Kramer. Hang on, bring out the lights on. Is that working?
Mr. President, my name is Bernie Kramer from 2150 East State Highway 153. I'd just like a short comment on the budget situation in Kronenwetter. Our present 24 budget, we are apparently at about $700,000 in deficit spending for 24. And I have a concern about the 25 budget. I see there's going to be discussion about it, but I think we got to have more respect for the budget process in the future. And then on the ambulance service with Riverside and Kronenwetter, is proposing to have their own ambulance service, and I can see no improvement. I say, if we're gonna have a Kronenwetter ambulance service to replace Riverside, there should be a direct improvement that everyone can see and understand, and I don't see that happening. Are we gonna go backwards, rationalize ourselves at certain points in terms of personnel and service that we receive now that we won't be able to get up later on? We don't need to have a startup. We've been there already before with Mosedy when they had to start up that time, 5 communities. We spent about 5-6 years there. We helped pay for a new building and an operational cost also. So we then, it was getting, our population increased and we were paying a greater amount normally, but it was, we considered it too much, so we got out and went to Schofield at that time. So I think with Riverside, they are very high quality and they continuously improve, and I don't think we should settle for less. And I think as a community, we should expect more. And here's a couple of things that Mr. Camphor had in his packet here. Are you doing the right thing? Well, I think that's got to be stressed. I mean, you don't want to do something just because you think it might be good in your eyes, but is it good for everybody in the whole community? Are you doing the right things? And value. And then here we go. Value. The price is what you pay. Value is what you get. And that was from Warren Buffett. And I think that's what we got to look at. I want to see when we pay for something, we do get high value and quality in Kronenwetter. Thank you.
Next up is Joel Schraub.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joel Straub, 860 West Nelson Road. I'm here on a completely different subject. This is something that was brought to this board's attention back on August 25th, 2020. It's in regard to the roadway access permit for Brian Monsell that was submitted on 7/13/2018. It is the source of a lot of frustration, maybe some source. I would like to pass off a copy of this if I could to the administrator. And I wanted for, one of these pages is from that packet that I submitted to the 7 board members on August 25th, 2020. 3 of you are still on this board. That would be Chris Vole, Chris Hayden, and Ken Charneski. So if I could pass this down, if you could, Pete, pass that on to Mr. Canfield. That is a document that I acquired through public record request on July 16th, somewhere in the area of July 12th or 13th, 2018. It came to me on 7/16/2018. And it was missed, and I said, Cindy Falkowski was our clerk at the time, and I said, does that conclude the public record request? And she said, yes, you have everything. 4 days later, no, I believe I got that year wrong, it was 2020, wasn't it? Yeah. Pardon me for that. Then the second page came, and that document right there was what brought me to contact the chief of police and said, that's enough, that's enough. I'm a professional. I deal with professional people. I respect professional staff. I was a professional builder from 1980 to 2017. I'm still active in building. I work with professional staff, 2 different states, Manatee County, Florida, Marathon County, Wisconsin. I know how to get along with people. I know the procedure. But when it comes to staff at a municipality, they are expected to know the ordinances, and you, as president, Chris, are supposed to know that they should follow the ordinance. 6124 guides you in that. By virtue of precedent, state statute says you are to see that the ordinances are faithfully obeyed. This was brought to your attention. Now, through our email exchanges, well, if you got something, Joe, bring it. Well, I did. And it's been buried. This thing has traveled through 3 counties. Portage County, Marathon County, and it's sitting in Lincoln County waiting. A detective has looked at it. So as of tonight, I am going to ask the district attorney from Lincoln County, when we get this thing rolling, that she includes you being in complicity, and the chairman of the Board of Appeals, William Utelich, be held in complicity, and the chairman of the Plan Commission be held in complicity to the act of forgery, which is a Class H felony under 943.38. Thank you very much. And here's where that driveway should have been put, Mr. King. Thank you.
Next up is Dave Bacon.
Thank you for giving the opportunity to speak. I'm Dave Baker. I live at 690 Happy Hollow Road in Kronenwetter, of course. And I blog and provide my opinion at Marathon County Spotlight. I emailed the village board yesterday, so I'm not going to repeat what I sent to you. I know most of you have read that. I did also post that on my blog again, Marathon County Spotlight, so if anyone didn't have the opportunity to see what my thoughts were, what my requests were, you can check that out. During my research into recent events at the village board, and particularly referencing the village clerk, I came to the conclusion after hours of research that Kronenwetter indeed has done a very poor job at administrating recent elections. We have really not followed the statutes and not followed the election code. And some of those mistakes were made by the village clerk, in my opinion, but also what I discovered, which I did not know before, as members of the board and president of the village, you are also election officials and you have election duties. And those were also not followed, except in the case of trustee Charneski. So there's plenty, and I believe there were some mistakes made by the chief and election inspectors. So there's plenty of room for improvement. We have an election coming up in August, and another election, very important election coming up in November. And I would certainly like to see us start to follow those statutes and codes. And I will be sending some more information as to what I think has not been followed and what we can do to rectify that. So I hope that we can, going forward, work together and get that up that statute. Thank you.
Next up is Faye Bookberger.
Good evening, Mr. President. All of Kronenwetter Village Board's meeting, sorry, April 30, 24 West Nelson Road, I forgot. All of the Kronenwetter Village Board meeting are noted as governed by Robert's rules. As such, this is supposed to be a professional environment with respectful discussion of the issues. Many of us are embarrassed to admit that we are residents of this village at the moment after the display of hatred at the last board meeting. We understand that our clerk feels that she is being treated unfairly by trustee Charneski. The policy of this village, though, is to address those concerns via the grievance policy HR 009. It is not the policy of this village to allow or encourage discussing personnel issues in open comment. The presentation by our clerk, which was read from her official chair as clerk number 1, and not at the podium like I stand as per Robert's rules, was also not addressed to the village president per Robert's rules. It was filled with hateful words, lacked any specific verifiable proof, and bordered on insubordination. Many people also feel that there was a level of threat issued against Trustee Charneski. As such, I ask the board to consider the violations of the employee handbook, the hatred expressed, and the inherent attempt at threat when considering whether our clerk should be reappointed. This recent behavior is unprofessional and not consistent with the duties, responsibilities, and expectations for our village clerk. Thank you. Any time I have remaining, I would like to give to Mr. Tim Shaw, please. Thank you.
Just so you know, this is gonna be the last time we're gonna be relinquishing any minutes. So we did it a couple meetings ago and everybody was fine with it. We did it last meeting, everybody got all upset about it. So from now on, after tonight, we're not relinquishing any minutes to any other speakers.
Could I suggest that we then institute a policy stating that so that it doesn't change?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Tim Shaw.
Thanks for your donation, Faye.
You're welcome.
Tim Shaw, 1225 Autumn Road, here in Kronenwetter. Leonard Ludi, his exit interview letter obviously didn't implicate Mr. Charneski, did it? Employees, Bobby, everybody else who spoke based on the fact that it was going to be incriminating him and stating that he was the reason that he left. But wait a minute, he didn't even bother to return it. I'm not surprised about that based on the conversation that I had with Mr. Ludi. And at this point, staff can't even begin to say Trustee Charneski is the reason that Mr. Ludi left. That's ludicrous. In our conversations, Mr. Ludi's and myself, he told me Trustee Charneski reminded him of his father. And he also told me that he held his father in high esteem, and he was very proud of his father. So I think that speaks, I think that says a lot, or in Bobby's words, I think it speaks volumes, right? Relative to Mr. Ludi's handling of the complaint, Mr. President, he went outside far outside the instructions of the board, and incurred what I think are inappropriate costs, substantial costs, right? With no reason. Finally, and I believe in Mr. Ludi's case, based on the conversations that he and I had, that he did not leave because of Mr. Charneski's ineptness or bullying or anything. He left because of the dysfunction at the village office in general, including staff's perpetual trying to pin Mr. Charneski's tail to the wall, right? With all the comments and absolutely no proof, none whatsoever. We haven't been given any. So relative to the comments that the staff members made, Jennifer Poyer essentially cited everything third hand. She had no information that was plausible for her in her own experience. It was all comments that other staff members had made throughout her tenure there. Oops, sorry about that, didn't mean to there. Now, Sarah Fisher, she made a comment. You state you want facts. Here's one for you. On January 15, 2024, there was an item on the village board agenda titled Discussion and Possible Action, Interactions with Elected Officials and Others, stating, a quote from her, I was at that meeting, I clerked it, and that item was put on the agenda because they asked it to be. They said they went through the channels. They went through the administrator and the board. I'm drawing a, what is it? What do you call it when somebody doesn't tell the truth?
A lie.
A lie. Yeah. So this is not true, and here's why. I have the minutes and the agenda on January 15th. It was a special meeting. There was nothing on that agenda about what she said. It was completely false, right? They're right here. Here's all the agendas, January 15th. Special board meeting. It was if I remember correctly, it was a meeting to decide if we were gonna hire Mr. Ludi or not. Might be wrong, but it was closed session. It was a special board meeting. Minutes are all here. So, in any event, that's quite interesting to me that she would bring that up and tell something that wasn't true. Okay, and furthermore, that was actually my agenda item. I tried to get that agenda item. It was Miss Labarge was a couple times she wasn't here, so we flip-flopped around. Are we gonna, we're gonna do it once she's here, when she's not? Are we gonna do it in public? Are we gonna do it private? Yada yada. So
Yeah, about 30 seconds.
you had with her minutes too?
Yeah, she only had like a minute left.
Okay, Patricia, would you like to?
I'll give you permission.
Thank you very much. Thank
But you
you.
have to stand up and tell them who you are and your address.
Patricia Kramer, 2150 East State Highway 153, Kronenwetter.
Thank you, Patricia, for your donation. I better talk fast here. So Sarah talks about emails and comments. Where are the emails? Where is all the proof of this? Everybody sat up there, talked in third person or about stuff. It was just gibberish. It was all talk. There's nothing that they have. The only shred of evidence that was apparently brought, I think it was for that, was an email from Mr. Pfeiffer by the clerk. Totally irrelevant, right? Before their tenure, and there was, it was not anything substantive. Now, to Bobby Burke Labarge. Miss Labarge's initial complaint for 12/14 of 23, which is right here, okay? You can all see, this is the complaint, there's the first paragraph. Pretty substantive, the first paragraph. That first paragraph talks about her conversations with the Village of Weston Town Clerk. I talked to the Village of Weston Town Clerk in, I think, January, I've got the date, but January of this year. And she tells me that this whole first paragraph is not true. What was it again when you? Oh, a lie, yeah, okay, sorry. So, what's there? What's there as far as a complaint, right? There's been no evidence. As a matter of fact, I responded to Ms. Labarge's complaint stating that I didn't know the process. I would make sure that she got some consideration. I talked to the president about that. And not too long ago, I did a public information request, and one of the things I got was the email that I sent to Ms. Labarge, sent to our village attorney, wondering if she should send me the information, any information with regards to Ken. Really? Isn't he the village's attorney? Why is an employee, to your point, attorney's fees, right? You made a big deal out of it when you were talking about Ken and, the investigation and everything.
All right, Tim, 30 more seconds.
Okay, so in any event, I could say so much more. With regards to, finally, I guess just in this comment, the statement that Ms. Labarge read, I actually hired a municipality attorney who's got 30 years experience to get some information, right? His opinion on the thing was that should have been controlled by the president, that whole board meeting. And that information that she put forth, as Faye said, in my opinion, should go in her personnel file. I personally feel that, and so did the attorney, that we have every right to terminate her employment based on just those comments, let alone the election stuff, so on and so forth, right?
All right, Tim.
Okay, I'll stop. Again, I have more, maybe I'll continue next time. A lot of interesting information, but the thing is, there's no evidence out there. Brian Kowalski got, what, a couple thousand emails and didn't really have much to say about it, so where's the, show me the emails, show me the money.
No.
Thank you.
I was just about to ask Chief.
Gonna prove wrestling for talking?
Grab the microphone. The rest would be nice to be getting relinquished. All right, moving on to item number 4, the reports from staff and vendors. Item C, the administrative report. I don't know, Pete, if you want to take a minute to introduce yourself to the crowd. I'm not sure many people know you as the new administrator.
Good afternoon. My name is Pete Camper. I'm your new village administrator. Nice to be here. I've been here at one other meeting. Last time I didn't get paid. I was here gratis. Anyway, I'm here tonight to try to pull some things together and make some sense of what's actually going on, and then work with your staff as well as with the village board, and try to go forward in a number of different important matters. There's a lot of initiatives going on, a lot of things to consider. I'd like to say best of all that I am from Marathon County. I grew up on a dairy farm here out at ONU in western Marathon County. As I think it still holds true, there's more dairy cattle, more Holsteins in the county than there are people. Is that correct? Maybe we ought to have one of those put on the board. So, having said that, we're all here trying to do the best thing that we can do for Kronenwetter. Everybody is all about the initiative and the different things that go on that also help in different ways that we gotta be able to lower our sores. So what does that mean, lower our sores? So back in the day, that's what you did, okay? We're gonna fight it out. We got the 3 musketeers, we're all jousting, right? We gotta put those tips down. Gotta lower the swords. That's the only way that we're ever gonna get together and get anything done. I took a little effort in thinking some things through, and you're not anything different than really the rest of the country. And it's just a way of saying that there's a lot of common ground when we start talking about where we all wanna go. Now, if that's what we all wanna do is improve our lives and our community, I think that can work. And it's really all not that difficult to do if we can kind of get some things considered. And so when I first show up on the job, I talk a little like this. Now, I am retirement age. That means I'm actually 65 plus. You don't need to know my age. You probably Google me up. All right? So having said that, I'm a mature adult. And I'm like just about anybody else. I'm pretty much black and white. And the way I was raised here and everything else, I would like to say that I represent that's all that's good about Marathon County, let alone Wausau. So I'm a Wausau West graduate. I would like to think that I am a legend in my own mind. You know, I was the best athlete ever produced. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. So there's no humor in the crowd. We'll just keep moving.
I heard that, yeah.
Okay. Good. If you heard it, then you get an attaboy. Delivering more citizen and stakeholder value. By the way, before I jump just too far, let me go back and get my brains here just a second. Keep track of it. By the way, that's another thing good about memory. The older that you get, you have a tendency to forget some of the things that maybe need to be forgotten. Can I say that? Can we go week to week and forget a few things? Is that a good idea? Let's forget it and move on.
Let's do that.
All right. I've been treated very well by the staff. Thank you, all of the staff. I appreciate them working with me and giving me lots of input and information and where things are. It is a confusing building at times. I'm still working through that just a little bit. That's just a little humor, by the way, too. I've been working on filling the position of your Public Works Director. So we've been running ads and I've been looking at applications, and I'll be sharing that with the board president as well as with committees and so on, and there are some possibilities. It has been somewhat new to me to be discerning, looking at the laws of Wisconsin as they compare to where I've been. So I've been a city manager, if you will, a village manager in Kansas, New Mexico, Colorado, as well as Texas a couple of times. So there are differences, and those are worth looking at. You gotta kind of study it. So y'all are on your toes, and I'm trying to get up to speed as quickly as I can. One of the things that I do is I rely on the prevailing norm of wisdom. What is the prevailing norm of wisdom? In Wisconsin, Marathon County, what is that? How do we rely on that? So that means a little bit here, I have to look at what's going on in the community and say, well, that's the way they like it, that's their wisdom, and this is the way that it rolls. A little bit of legal in there, sometimes a little bit of spiritual affidavit in there. Nothing wrong with referring to what we call the prevailing norm of wisdom. So hence, the PowerPoint. So here, delivering more citizen stakeholder value. When I say that, there's a lot of stakeholders that are a part of the community as well as the voting citizen. A leading future challenge in Kronenwetter. So talk a little bit about what a stakeholder is. This is in the packet. So right here I put a stakeholder may be a citizen, a group of individuals, or another large organization or institution, all right? So if you had different kinds of things going on in the community, like children in a park, if you had schools within the district or within the village, if you have big businesses, they may not live here, but whatever you're doing does impact them. Objectives: describe why Kronenwetter will need to create new types of value for their stakeholders in the future. So what I did, without just kind of jumping ahead, is I went into your room 121, is that right? And you have posted in there your vision and your mission. I took a picture, it'll be in here, and I look at that for the basis of values. Now, I understand that that was done in 2017, and we're going to talk a little bit about that since 2017. So basically looking at how we're going to begin planning and working together. We have budget coming up. Lisa, I know you just are all excited about budget, so she's just ecstatic. If you don't know her, she's just really jittery about it. Starting premises. Kronenwetter exists to create value for their stakeholders. Isn't that true? We're here to create something that would provide better services, and we have to value what those things are. But if you sat down in here, you probably have as many people here talking about different things, and you don't have a consensus. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I value law enforcement in my community because I want to leave my home, my children, my family, could be my grandkids, could be any number of different things, my possessions. I want to leave them where I can come back and find them. I also want to be able to know that my property is being taken care of, right, or is not being violated, let's say it that way. Entities that excel, you have to go back just a second, if you can, I hope you can or not. Okay, strategic planning. Entities that excel at creating value for their stakeholders will survive and thrive, period. We have to know what that is so we can talk about it. Of course, we're all going to be voting. Next slide, please. The big three questions. So I took all this PowerPoint and built it around these three questions. I come in to town, I'm the new guy, everything else is auxiliary to that. This is the slide. Are you doing things right? Or are you doing the right things? And are you creating enough value? All right? Give greater attention here on value. So I've been working with the ladies and Pete. Not only, I said I didn't throw you in. Okay, just making sure. So I've been working with the staff. And when I'm watching and looking at in a lot of this is, you know, are we taking the time and the effort to be detailed enough to provide you the service that you think you would value and how we're doing it? So the PD sits over here, they do a great job on focus on law enforcement. The fire department has a focus, And upstairs, we're doing code and we're doing planning, and then we're also processing billing and quite a few other different details. Value, price is what you pay, value is what you get. Now, normally I would stop here and tell you an anecdote, but I didn't want to take up too much time. But the anecdote, the substance of which it is basically, I had a fancy sports car one time in my life. And I went and took it in because it was running very, very rough. They had this thing called a PVC valve. It went in the cover of the valve cover of an engine. Really a fancy car, I had it for 6 months. Drove it in, the guy comes out in a white smock, looks really good. He says, what's the problem? It's running rough. He leans over, pops the hood, pulls out the PVC valve, just a simple grommet fitting of rubber, bangs it on his heel, sticks it back in, it runs like $1 million, all right? It runs like a champ. Didn't even need a new one. Charged me $350 to bang this PVC valve on his heel. So do you think that I really valued that much? He says, by the way, he told me, he says, you're not paying me for what I did, you're paying me for what I know. You get that one for free, by the way. So anyway, we're going to talk about what value is Kronenwetter getting from its stakeholders and vice versa. We're going to be talking about the give and take in value. Next one. Starting premises, I just kind of highlighted Kronenwetter exists because it provides value. Kronenwetter depends upon its stakeholders for value. Value growth is a two-way street. It goes back and forth between the staff, the elected board, and the voters, your citizens. Go ahead. I'm getting a mouse. I priced one for $39. I'm gonna buy it out of my own pocket, and I'm gonna buy it myself. I'm all in on this thing. Buy me a big piece of software here. These are some value builders. We'll talk about that as we go along, all the way around. Closing value gap. How do we close it? Does a gap exist in our community? And that's a rhetorical question. Y'all don't need to chime in, but is there a gap in that value? That's what we're gonna try to work on. Now, I've done this 6 other times, and I know that it can be done if there's a willing and a way. And by the way, when prosperity arises, you will see that all boats will rise. As the tide comes in, everything gets a little bit better. Please remember, it is not the long-term planning of activities that breeds success, rather the long-term understanding of why Kronenwetter exists, and the values and the beliefs that we have guided operations over time. So once we get down to that, I can kind of look and see what they are already, and I have my opinion, but we're going to talk about that together. Go ahead. Way down at the bottom, if you look at that, some reminders about value. Board and citizen-led models that organize around value chains work best. We're going to look at a value chain here in just a minute. Some implications of the value model, kind of looking at it right here, is that management is used to reduce investment risks, right? Because I'm already hearing what you all don't value. What I'm trying to do is lower your risk and how money is expensed, right? So we're gonna make it safer and better and lower the risk. Go ahead. Set value creation priorities. Remember, you can't do it all. And people have an expectation about what we do, but you can't do it all. And looking around Village Hall already, I see that. We can't do it all. Okay, how do we manage that give and take? So here's a value chain right here, if you will. Okay, for citizens, when you look throughout and you study the communication and the surveys and the work that are going on within Marathon County, if you will, their value goes along this line, somewhat from top to bottom. Does that surprise you by looking at what that value may be? Look down there where I highlight high quality public services, safety, security, and stability. Those are 2 biggies. If you're ever gonna grow the community, we're gonna have to look at that really carefully. Next slide. Business owner stake value. Okay, now what businesses you have and how that's being critical and what goes on is good that we understand. You'll see right there, growth resources. You have to have people, You have to have sites, you have to have capital. Okay, short and long-term run cost savings to be here. And how true is that statement actually being said is a real value? Now, I sometimes stop, and this is just for the board. Are you kind of with me so far? Does this make sense, and we'll all talk about it much more? By the way, look right down at the bottom there, it says recognition. And if you look in the background, you're gonna see a baton being handed off, that's a track thing, right? So you're on a team, and you're moving the baton around the track. Why don't we go backwards, by the way, one slide. Look at the very bottom there about citizens, they like to be recognized. Recognition, something in common. Okay, let's go ahead and go a couple forward. Concrete action steps, we're gonna conduct a value audit of our programs and services. And then we're also gonna convert our annual budget report into an annual value creation statement. All right, so it's not we're gonna go kick out numbers and put everybody to sleep. We're actually gonna talk about, that budget and what it means and how we value what we're putting money into. Hence, right here, if you don't mind, Chief, could you help me out with this? Yeah, if you give it to the board. This is a Kronenwetter citizen survey. It's two-sided. You're gonna take a look at it. This is just the start. And you're gonna have a lot of input on what this is, but it is a survey that is put in with the billing to go to your citizens. And then we also set up other avenues about how we begin to survey the public. And this survey is designed to create value. Now, how many people are gonna get back negative surveys? Everywhere I've been, the first survey comes back. Generally, somewhere around 20% just are hateful. I'll tell you that straight up. But the following year, when we run it again, it will be significantly changed and better. But you've got to get the opinion, and you have to get the input from the citizens. Can it be manipulated? What I try to do is put it on a certain kind of paper and a certain color, and then we get it back. We're trying to get one survey from each citizen. We don't want anybody just to pack a box full of what they think. This survey is critical to understanding where we're gonna go. So I've done this before everywhere, and we can also put it into a very quantitative basis to study and understand where you are and where you're gonna go, and the persuasions of the public in this case. Go ahead. Here's your vision and your mission. So I've studied it and I've looked at it, and it sounds good, but you know what it doesn't have, or I can't find anywhere, is an action plan. That's kind of where your staff working with your board really should. There's no action. It's just a plain statement. You gotta have an action plan to get somewhere. Okay, we're all gonna go on a trip. We gotta gas up the car, change the oil, have some snacks. We're gonna go somewhere, we gotta plan it out. We gotta say how this is gonna work. Okay, we're gonna go to Monaco, right? So we head south to Madison, right? All right, that's how we do it. Next slide, please. All right, so here's what I'm talking about. If Kronenwetter has a vision, incentives, competencies, resources, and an action plan, you'll see something to the positive of growth. And you have to have growth to cover your bills. Otherwise you die. You go nowhere. If you look down at the very bottom, this is vision, incentives, competencies, and resources, and you're missing an action plan. You are a failure. Period. By the way, nobody likes to be called a failure, right? I don't like to. My kids don't. My employees that I work around, they don't like it. Where I've been, they don't like it. Everybody wants to have some level of being successful, and they want to look at growth. So I put a little scale in there, things that you're gonna meet, that you're gonna miss, and that we have to be able to start talking about, and where we kind of go from there. Kind of looking at it critically too, we've been listening, I've been listening now and studying all your minutes. Where does competencies fit in? Everybody to a level has to have competencies inside Village Hall, yet alone in the community. We have to be competent in how we handle and deal with things if we're gonna have any sense of growth. By the way, look at it. anxiety. And so I'm listening, and I'm practicing a lot of those soft skills. Chief, do you ever practice soft skills on empathy and talking, listening?
Yeah, the officers do have some of that training.
We work on that. That's a good thing. Next slide, please. So, I'm letting you know straight up, here's what I'm doing behind the scenes. Assessing the readiness for joint work. Right now, our community is not ready for joint work, is it? You need to listen, it's not ready. It just isn't. So we're moving right now from networking together, this is a network right now. By the way, nothing to be critical of anybody, this is just where we're at. I'm trying to move you from networking over to collaboration. So networking, next step is coordination, next is cooperation, and then after that, collaboration. It's just as simple if you study what those things mean. Committed groups, unfocused. Committed groups, focused. I've been hired, and I think this is what I think what we're doing is that I was hired to provide focus. That's what we're gonna do. If you'll have me. You know, I came here for the money, you knew that, right? Everybody knows that. I did that. By the way, in my background, you should know that I came from the largest utility district in the state of Texas. Isn't that something? I was paid infinitely more than I'm being paid. But I decided to retire from this. I decided. And I did, and now I'm here to work. It's not such a bad thing. Right? I owned my own company at one time in my life. I was pretty good at it. Made a ton of money. I got a great family in Texas, and I love my family. I do anything for them. And guess what? I love Marathon County. I love Kronenwetter. I'm going to do my best for you. Does that help you all a little bit in the thinking? Okay, so let's all begin the process of lowering our swords a little bit, and let's work on creating some values and value chains and understanding. I guarantee you, if we can get on some tracks, we'll get there and we'll do that. Are there any questions from the board about what I just did? I want you all to know I appreciate it, again, to be here. Thank you for taking, I know that this may not be in front of a long agenda, the best thing to listen to. That right there, what I just delivered, I used to spend almost 2 to 3 hours doing. So I saved you all, didn't I? She gave me $20, so I had to say it that way.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the police chief.
All right.
You gotta top that, chief.
You have a PowerPoint, chief?
No, I don't know. I went to the microphone.
So, yeah, don't have a whole lot else, outside of my report. We are gonna get one of our 2 brand new squad cars back. They just called today, so that's ready. So we'll go and pick that up, and then, with Officer Guy right now being on light duty for pregnancy, we got her working some detective work, so to speak, right now. We had a couple cell phone downloads, so it's actually working out pretty well right now. So she's able to just focus on that and frees up our officers working the road, so. I'll take any questions that anybody's got.
Chief, what falls under miscellaneous calls?
Boy, like the service miscellaneous, cause there's service miscellaneous and criminal miscellaneous. Service miscellaneous is a real catch-all, and that's why there's like so many of them. It can be,
What's an example?
it can be anything from, an ordinance complaint, noise complaint, or, nuisance property. It can be, I'd have to look up some different scenarios around, but it's obviously one of our biggest ones. It's really, like I said, it's a catch-all.
Any other questions? All right, next chief.
You bet.
Moving on to fire chief.
Okay, as you can see in my report, we are up to 25
Calls for fire service for the year, 176 EMS calls as of the end of May. Fire calls are down a little bit, but EMS calls are right on track where we've been the last couple of years. We've had, in the last 45 days, we've had 13 applicants to join the fire department. We're in the process of going through those and interviewing. 4 have been interviewed already, with more upcoming interviews next week. Any questions?
The auction for engine 2, did that go for more than you expected?
A little bit, not a ton. That's on here. We got $15,326 for it. I was hoping for 10, so we did get a little more than I was hoping for. But
Yeah, I saw a guy that bought it owns a greenhouse in Milwaukee or something.
yeah, something like that. Correct.
It'd be interesting to see what he does with it.
His plan was to convert it to a dump truck.
That'd be awful expensive conversion.
According to him, he does it all the time. He buys fire trucks, he converts them. Yep.
Anything else for the fire chief? All right, thanks, Teresa. Move on to item G, the treasurer's report. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Pete.
Well, you have a copy of my report. I have seen an increase in complaints in the last 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of property maintenance complaints, lawn cutting, accumulation of junk. And I had 2 shoreline violations last week that are gonna need some attention. Other than that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, we talked about the floodplain ordinance. Is that still on track for July to get that finished up?
I would say no. I have sent emails probably every other week now to the DNR asking for their final blessing on the language that we've moved forward for a public hearing, and I've not heard anything. And I've talked to other people throughout northern Wisconsin that are having the same problem, just getting responses, whether it's a floodplain issue or a wetland issue or ordinary watermark. Something is going on, whether I don't know if they're changing positions or reorganization or something, but I'm on my 3rd person already, dealing with the ordinance language. And I've probably, since our last meeting, I've sent, at least every other week, I've sent requests, and I no longer even get a reply. Usually I get some kind of automatic reply saying that out of the office or will be out for this length of time, but I'm not even getting that anymore.
You can't say something like, if we don't hear back from you, we will assume that it's approved, or something like that. Put it on them to deny it.
Yeah, but I don't know if that gets us anywhere. I have done that in the past, actually, given them a deadline. But by the time it goes to a public hearing, village board or like a North County board, you have to have their blessing.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't done it yet in this scenario, but I'd be more than willing to do that. And I was also carbon copying the head of the floodplain division. Well, actually, I went to college with him and I haven't heard anything from him. So something's just off.
Anything else for Pete?
Pete, I have a question about Michael's company going through and pulling the fiber optic cabling through. Is someone from Kronenwetter staff keeping an eye on the damage that they're doing as they've been going through? Because there's several roads that I saw, a lot of the sides of the roads are broken up, there's some frontages of people's properties that there's big ruts, and I know they say that they're supposed to come back and restore everything, but, I haven't seen them restoring anything.
I know that Brad keeps an eye on that. I don't think I reviewed that particular permit, but that's something that between myself and Brad would look at. Same thing with maintaining or mitigating any disturbance in the right of way as far as lawns or vegetation. They usually do it in one big sweep when they're done. They'll have somebody come back and do the reseeding and any pothole or asphalt repair that needs to be done.
So what about those people in the village that their front yard is disturbed and it's impairing water flow through their property? Because standing water in some areas where they disturbed the ground.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that, but if I had that information, I could look into it definitely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, Kirby? Nope. All right, thanks, Pete. All right, now it's the treasurer's report.
So, just to kind of keep you guys, up on a few things, the well number 2 treatment, Becker Hoppy met with the UC committee, and the deadline to have things completed was August 1st to September 1st. It's now been shifted to November 8th to 13th. There is the RFP out for the 88 doors, so those are being done. Along with the next item, the check register, the more detailed that Ken had asked for last time is in there. And then for the payroll piece, I've stated for the same check run dates, the amount that we spent in payroll, and you guys should have a paper copy of those payroll and gross payments for those employees in front of you. I'll take any questions.
Have you ever looked into what Covantage is paying for interest? I'm just curious if they would beat Credible Bank.
Last when I had talked to them, they were not beating anybody.
Anything else for? All right, we'll run into the check register. Questions, comments about the register?
Yeah, I got some comments. Let's see, I see you added the description, which is good. I like the overall look of it. Much more informative to have, you know, what stuff is spent on, stuff like that. As far as any questions, page 111, you got equipment purchases, 348, so that was 1,000. That was the tractor beach mower, and what else was bought?
Hold on. I gotta go back to the budget. Cause it was the ditch mower, and then we had a few other things that. Lisa, wasn't it the trailer?
When would the steamroller thing that run through?
No.
I think that was 2023. Trailer use of the skid steer and steamroller.
So that was this year, yeah.
That would also be the fire truck pickup
Oh, yeah.
and the squads.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the total, that's what that entire thing is those 3 items.
Okay. And on page 125, there's a check that Dan Mahoney. Now that we have Mr. Kemper here, are we done with Mahoney, or what's going on there?
I guess that would be up to Mr. Camper on whether or not he's gonna use those services.
He may come and get lessons from you.
Well, I am a legend in my own mind.
Yeah, I know.
So Lisa, what was budgeted for that item? Yeah, that handy.
That came out of the administrators. So that was a
Okay.
total of,
No, we had a limit on that contract.
oh, the contract itself,
Yeah,
that I would have to go back and look at, I don't remember. I was just thinking about the administrator's budget.
Dan Mahoney sent an email, he said, please find attached an invoice for my services, this will be my final invoice for my mentoring services. And that was sent, May 17th, so he's done.
Okay, so we're not done with him, he's done with us.
No.
We had a total of 2,000 that we budgeted for that bridge, so.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody else for the check register? All right, we're gonna move on to item 5, new business, item 5I, discussion, action, the fire department DNR agreement.
Okay, so the DNR grant period is open for application through July 1st. Historically, every chance we've applied, or every time we have applied, we've received the grant. It is a 50-50 match grant up to $20,000, so the max we would pay would be $10,000. I'm asking for approval to be able to apply for that grant.
And that's all the equipment that you're gonna buy anyway.
Correct. It helps to buy, like, for example, this last year, we were able to buy 5 pagers, 2 radios, which helps because our radio budget is quite a bit smaller. It also helps supply our guys with wildland firefighting gear.
The ABC did recommend those were approved the grant.
Correct.
And as you were saying, the matching funds are coming off the 25 budget.
Yes.
Right. All right. Well, I make a motion to give approval to the fire chief to go ahead and apply for the DNR Forest Fire Protection Grant.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Kelly. Cindy, second by Cindy, to approve the, fire department approval to apply for the grant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call roll please. Sorry.
Chris Wolf?
I'm sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right, item J, discussion action, application for kennel permit, Peanuts Dog Lodge, located at 1420 Kronenwetter Drive.
Yeah, this is a kennel permit that we received and was discussed with the planning commission. Brock and Brady, the 2 gentlemen back here, 2 young guys that are starting this business. The planning commission recommended approval. They met all the requirements that are on the application itself. They supplied a business plan. I got to get on their case about their sign without a permit, but it keeps blowing down, so technically it's compliant, non-compliant.
So when it's down, it's compliant, is that what you're saying?
When it's blowing over, I can't go after it, but if it's up.
Okay, well, I guess, so you're saying they need a permit for that? Or-
If it stays up, yeah. Cause it's, it depends on where it ends up.
Okay. Well, that's no reason to hold up this.
No, not at all, not at all, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'll move that we, approve this kennel permit.
Second?
Yeah.
All right, Kim made a motion, I made a second to approve the kennel permit for Peanuts Dog Lodge. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right, item number K, discussion action letter of apology to the RPF firm.
Yeah, I put this in the agenda. I didn't want to get too detailed and kind of advertise who's all involved. I think everybody on the board pretty much knows, conversation got a little bit out of hand, and I thought it'd just be appropriate to, get something sent out to them, along the lines of an apology. So,
I just, if I could make some comments, I actually was the chair of the CLIP committee that night, and, there was a discussion, between the vendors. The top rated vendor, had some issues where even though they were voted, staff had looked at everything and they gave them the number one topic, we decided that they had one of the members had a legal issue, so we decided not to go with them. So then the second rated, highest rated, I should say, RFP vendor. We got into discussion about that. And as we were discussing it back and forth, the administrator at the time had mentioned that there might have been some issues in the past with the vendor and with some of the decisions that were made and some issues. So we discussed that, but with any of us, that was way before any of us were even on board. I've been on the board, this is what, my 12th year, and I had no idea of that vendor and what he had done, but we did do a discussion on it. Which, to me, if we can't discuss something without hurting somebody's feelings, then why are we even discussing it? I mean, if you ask me for a restaurant and I start talking about it, and even though I might say, you know, this restaurant's bad, but yet I still go to it. And in fact, that's what we did with this vendor that was offended by us. We still voted them to hire them. So is that a bad thing? I mean, we're basically telling that vendor, even though, yeah, we've heard about some of your past stuff, and we don't even know that's true. We're still gonna hire you because we wanna give you a chance, not listen to what was done in the past.
Right, because it was a case of, it wasn't the entity itself, it was the project manager that had done work for the village previously.
Yes.
And we had a very frank discussion that I don't believe, like I say, I mean, I was being educated in it because I had no experience with the person, so.
And to me, if there was not being, if somebody's gonna withhold information because somebody might have a hurt feelings, that's really not doing a service to
Right.
the residents. So, I mean, I'm pretty consistent. I've seen other vendors in here cry and nothing was done about it for apologies. So you know, personally, my feeling is, I didn't see that I did anything wrong, and, I mean, apology-wise, I mean, I don't know why one should be awarded.
Right.
Because I don't think anything was done except the discussion. If I can't discuss something at a meeting, then why are we having a meeting?
Well, the point is, the first vendor, the discussion was based on facts, and the second one was based more on hearsay, gossip, and like you say, you didn't even know.
True, I didn't even know, but
Right,
you
so-
still like wanna, I mean, I hear a lot of rumors and stuff, but if somebody doesn't even tell me that, then I can't research it. But like I say, I kinda basically, you know, we basically ignored it then and said, okay, we're gonna still
Right.
hire that firm.
Because it was based on more or less hearsay,
Right.
talked it through, and still decided they were who were going to award the RFP, so I don't.
Right, so that's why I just don't understand it, because if you tell me, Chris, where that restaurant, I'll never go back to, but I still go try it and say, hey, it was excellent. You know, people change, businesses change. I mean, stuff I did when I was younger, yeah, maybe I wasn't so proud of it, that's what I can do now. So, you know, you can have that opinion, but, you know, it's like, you gotta give them and we did give them a chance. Whether they felt offended, can I help that?
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I guess on the flip side of that, you know, you gave them the opportunity. You know, they could have taken that chance and said, okay, well, we're gonna prove you that those things, accusations were false or hearsay or whatever, you know.
Right. So that's just my take on it, that's my opinion. I mean, I'm just shooting it out there.
No, and I agree with Chris, it doesn't, I don't feel like we as a committee went overboard in any way, or we had just had a very frank discussion, and when we, you know, like I said, the first part, one was based on fact, and we said, okay, we're not doing that. Went to the second one, talked it through, and we decided on they were the ones we wanted, so I don't know that I'm missing something here, or.
And I agree, I mean, I don't think we need to decide on facts and not like, you know, a rumor or what was done in the past if we weren't even there, but that's why we did award them that.
We have 3 of the 5 members of that committee at the time sitting in this room, and I don't know that.
I mean, the only time I've seen this really that we should have done it was when, and this was a little while ago at UC, where some information about a bid was completely, totally miscommunicated to the UC. That was the former public works director that put that together. Basically, we had Clerk Dietz come in and say, I'm not gonna work with you if you're gonna misportray all that. I don't know if an apology was ever issued or not, but that was probably the clearest example.
Well, it was, I was trying to get that example myself.
Yeah, like that was the only time I've seen it. That was a pretty clear one though. That one probably should have been when, you know, the consultant was saying they read the packet, tried to contact, you know, staff, and that staff member just went with it for some reason. And then they got very upset, and that's different. That's purposely misportraying the proposal.
Mr. Hall?
Faye, you have a comment?
Thank you.
Name and address, report, please.
Thank you, Peter. Faye Bookberger, 824 West Nelson Road. The project manager, listened to the comments that the first person was a criminal because of their background, and the next words that were used, and it came from Mr. Ludi, is that, oh, we're talking about another one. So he interpreted that as going from, we're discussing one criminal, now we're gonna discuss a second criminal. And at that point, Mr. Coyle here had said, what are you talking about? And Mr. Ludi said, somebody told me, somebody on my team, that this man is, cost us a lot of money, caused a lot of trouble, etc., etc. And all of that apparently is untrue, talking to Rick Smith, who was the president at the time. And this man was very offended that his reputation was dragged through the mud with false allegations. I don't see that it's horribly inappropriate to just tell the man that we're sorry that he felt offended.
All right, thanks, Faye.
Thank you.
No, if I don't I'll admit, I don't remember that part, that he said that he was a criminal, so I'll apologize, I don't remember that being said. So, or if I didn't hear that.
Well, I went through the minutes again to verify, because I didn't understand why this man was quite this upset. But it was the way that he interpreted when we went from one criminal's behavior to his, that he interpreted as, they're calling me a criminal.
Yeah, I didn't interpret, but I mean, I could listen to the meeting
But it
minutes.
still is his interpretation, obviously.
Right, if it's in I could listen to recording again,
Okay.
and, because I just don't remember that part.
Yeah, and that's why I went back and re-listened to find out why he was upset, because I didn't quite understand where he was coming from. But he is.
Yeah, like I said, I was relying on everybody else because I was not familiar with the gentleman, so.
I wasn't either, I
Yeah.
have no idea. I've never met him in my life, to be honest.
Yeah. And that was why at the end of the day, we're like, we wanted to go ahead and award it to them because, you know, we were comfortable, so. I don't know that an apology needs to be given because of a misunderstanding, I don't know.
Well, from my point of view, it wouldn't hurt. I'll make the motion, and I'll leave it up to you guys. You know, you vote yes or no, and that's just how it goes. I'll make the motion to direct Administrator Camford to review the discussion and any relevant documents, and draft an appropriate letter of apology as he sees fit.
He can, before we vote, can I ask you if the term, what Faye had put in, if that is in the actual recording, that he's thought, you know, the criminal.
Specifically, he's implied as a criminal.
He's implied as a criminal, if that's in there, go forward. I mean, cause typically.
Okay, let me rescind my motion. I move we refer this whole issue to Mr. Camphor. He can listen to it, and in his opinion, if it's appropriate for an apology, he can do it. If he thinks, well, it's not that big of a deal, they're not.
Okay, no, that's good.
Because he's got experience in this stuff and, you know,
I'll
so-
second that.
some of these professional people, they network, and hey, I heard this a bunch, you know, we don't know, I don't know.
And like I said, I don't remember that part, so, you know, that's, to me, it's acceptable, because if that word was in there, I would definitely apologize myself.
So that's called passing the buck.
Yeah.
I mean, I normally, you know, fine with deferring to staff on stuff, I just have an issue with that motion says that it's very broad. You know what I mean, like, well, how do we know there's any closure either way? Right, you know what I mean, like, there's not a ton of direction on that.
We don't know, it's just that, like I said, it wouldn't hurt, you know, if we apologize. And if the guy said, oh, fine, I'm happy, or if he said, wow, too late now, you know, I don't know what his reaction will be, but, at least we did our part, you know.
I mean, was there any sort of written thing from this group? Like, I just don't know enough about this topic that.
Sorry, may I?
I don't know what's in
Yes,
the minutes
a
or.
motion apology.
Okay, hang on now, so we have a motion and a second to recommend this item to the administrator.
It's discussion, what motion, right?
Yeah, but everybody in the audience wants to speak about it. So I'm not sure where we're going with this.
Right. I was making discussion of my opinion of the motion that was on the table.
Okay. But you wanted to know if we were gonna hear back about what happened with this, and so we rely on the administrator to report back on what's gonna happen.
Under that motion.
He would tell us one way or the other what he does. Regardless if it's in the motion or not, he's gonna tell us what he does.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, the way that motion is written, right, the direction that's being given to this bag, right, staff is probably more likely to go along with what the person making the motion wants them to do. That makes sense. It's not a clear direction, that's my issue.
Let's ask Pete what he understands the motion to
Yeah, he
be.
wants to talk.
Just as a basis to walk through this a little bit, generally what I do is a call of inquiry. You know, we're hearing a lot of stuff back and forth, but you would contact this particular vendor and just open up a conversation and, you know, hey, I'm the new guy, and we're excited about our community and what's been going on, and you're kind of opening up to create a dialogue. If you find out that there's been feelings hurt or some sort of damage, then you're investigating if I can. So you're just kind of vetting, you're also doing a little bit of survey work, they call it that. You're just kind of getting a status of what actually happened, and I think it's appropriate to provide direction to your administrator that way, and if it's desirable, it's easy enough to provide a written apology. Sometimes even, you know, just a basic telephone call, and, you know, please resubmit at another future time, you never know what that is. But, you know, allow a little discretion, and I appreciate the comments, but, you know, that's a little bit of what you normally would do in business, is let's get a status and let's see where the feelings are at, and you might find out maybe they got thick skin. So.
If I might.
I personally think there's not enough information, so I actually moved to amend Ken's motion, and then just to table this action to next meeting, or I mean, delay action to next meeting.
May I comment or not?
Name and address again, where's the microphone?
Thank you, microphone. Babel for 824 West Nelson Road. Kapur and Associates sent an email to Mr. Luda informing him that they were withdrawing their bid based upon the fact that they had listened to the audio recording for the meeting that had been shared, as Mr. Iden here said. They then also told Mr. Ludai apparently that they are withdrawing consideration for ever working with the village again. So my thought was, if we could apologize to them, it might smooth over some of the hard feelings. This firm has a very good reputation, and we certainly don't want them going out and saying, don't work with Kronenwetter, look what they do to you at board meetings. That it might be better to address that. I questioned Mr. Ludai as to why he never told any of you guys this stuff, but apparently he chose not to.
Thanks, man. Guy, you had a comment?
Yep, Guy Friedel,
Microphone, please.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Gotcha.
Guy Friedel, 2240 Ruby Drive, Kronenwetter. In context with the number one RFP, their project manager was convicted of essentially taking $13.5 million from various farmers and others, banks, spent 3 years in prison. For any comments to be made within that context, and to compare that number one vendor to the number two vendor was not even charged or alleged to have done anything that was criminal. If I were in that vendor's shoes, I of course would be very upset. This firm does multi-million-dollar projects for the state of Wisconsin. Part of this is that the village for too long has had an anti-business attitude that is not pro-business. It's a person with a local business connections, and the village has damaged itself. I think you need to consider the context of this, where there was a convicted criminal who was not only sentenced to prison, but is still on probation, being required to pay restitution on that. So I don't see where there's a comparison. And those people who made comments with regards to this vendor and how it cost money, where's their proof? They never submitted any proof. That's slander. That's smearing somebody. And if this village wants to do that, then you're gonna burn bridges with lots of businesses in this community, because if you don't think that this person isn't talking to other businesses, you're sadly mistaken. And you're unaware of the situation that you are creating. So you have a choice.
I guess the thing here this seems to be getting really out of hand, because there was no way that or personally, our committee said that the Camphor firm was criminal.
No.
I don't remember, I mean, that
Not at all.
is not at all.
There was, this is how I remember it, and you two can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was some dislike for some work he had done for the village, the project manager that is, at one time, but it was many years ago, and as that was kind of brought out in the conversation, it was like, oh, no, then we're fine with them. But this was 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
That they were talking about. There was never any intimation that we were talking about a criminal. They were two very separate issues. And
I say we go back and let Mr. Camper listen, because I disagree.
Hey, we'll handle this.
I'm sorry?
We'll take the discussion. Go ahead.
I've gone back and looked through it, unless I'm misunderstanding something, if something was said of a negative tone, I don't believe it came from somebody on the committee or from staff. I do remember the comment from Mr. Ludi saying, okay, we have another one, meaning we have another option, because he had a whole list. There were total 4, but like I say, if that's what this is based on, then it was taken completely out of context. I do not see it. I just don't.
Sal, it's your motion to delay. What's the action? Just to delay and wait for the next meeting, and then what's the resolution?
Well, I mean, there's no information in the packet to make a decision. I don't even know what firms are here. I'm hearing someone with $13.5 million. I don't know which firm is which. There's no information at all to understand, or any basis to it, to understand what's even really being alleged here.
Okay, well, I will second Trustee Vedvig's motion to modify with the addition that I think we should direct Mr. Kemper, simply make a phone call. And, as he called it, conduct a survey and come back to us, and then we can decide if a formal apology needs to be given, or if there was some.
Gather information to make
Yes.
Thing is, we already got a motion on the floor from Ken.
Yeah, he got his was a modification.
And there was a second.
Yeah, that's not an amendment,
That's how Alex proposed he amended, he said it was an amendment.
So what exactly is the amendment?
it's a whole different motion.
Okay, do we gotta go through them separately then? Address his and then,
Yeah, the amendment would be something that would relate to the initial motion. The delay action wouldn't relate to the initial motion.
okay.
I didn't think it was gonna be this complicated.
Well, I think it's in the bottom.
I mean, I could have voted, I could have moved to table it, and that would have pushed it to the end of the meeting. But then that would be your original motion, and then, you see what I'm saying, so that's why I offered an amendment.
I don't know, doesn't affect me one way or the other, I'm just trying to,
It does
do what's right, and I guess I just don't see the harm in it, if it was with my motion, just letting him do it and move on. But if you guys wanna go through the process of getting a report back and all this other stuff, I mean, that's up to you.
I don't see the harm in having Pete review everything and decide if an apology is warranted. I think that's a good plan, and we should move forward with that.
I would agree.
All right, so the amendment to the motion, this amendment, is to delay action, so we're gonna vote on that first. So if you want, and Ken's motion was to allow staff to review and decide what was
Use no
appropriate.
discretion.
Are we clear? All right, so we're voting on the amendment. All in favor of delaying action, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Aye. All right, the motion was defeated, so we're not gonna delay action. Then the original motion was to allow staff, specifically the administrator, determine whether apology is warranted or not.
Wouldn't it be direct staff, allow staff, I mean, staff could do that, it's not direction.
The motion was to direct.
Yeah.
To direct him to decide.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries. All right, move on to item L, discussion action, village legal fees.
Oh.
This is yours too, Ken.
Okay, this, we put on here, obviously we've got legal fees coming out our ears here. The Von Briesen thing, if you remember at the last meeting, I asked Mr. Ludi if he had a report. He said he was going to hand off this project, and something about it being in his, exit interview. Well, to my knowledge, there is no exit interview returned. And for one thing, this Von Briesen project, as far as I know, no one on the board has even seen anything associated with it. Certainly haven't approved, these expenditures. And we have to do something about that. I mean, every month, Lisa, did the latest invoice come in, like from May Services, or has that?
I have not seen that yet.
Okay, well, the last two were not quite 10,000 a month. And, I wouldn't be surprised if this one's the same, which would put it at about $34,000 for something that we never approved, and really are not even sure what exactly is going on. I'm not anyway, unless some of you are. And the other thing is the Dempsey invoices. I could point out on the, not that I'm moving to the next item, but on the budget comparison, 1 year ago, we spent $227 in the first quarter on legal fees. And this quarter, we spent $15,000. And we did just fine last year. We didn't implode or anything like that because we didn't have a lawyer checking on everything we do. So I guess I had requested that the latest invoices would be in this packet, so not just the board, but the public could see what's going on with these charges. I would like to do that every month and review some of this stuff, because some of the stuff is questionable to me to have him review the agenda, for an example, or that whole thing with Covantage. I had it marked down here, I forgot, but it's several $1,000s on that alone. And I'm wondering if we could not have settled that directly without all that expense. And another idea to reduce these costs would be to have all the information that any trustee requests, not have to go through a review of a lawyer and the Open Records Act and all that. In the past, I would say previous to, I'd say about 2022, we could ask for anything from any department head, and you just get it, and it's no big deal. Now it's like there's a wall of, it's almost like a big obstacle to get information, and the lawyer seems to have to check everything, and seems like his biggest job is to find a reason not to give you the information that we should be getting anyway, because the assumption of the statute is that it's all open records, and there's not much that's not an open record. And if there is, generally in the past, the clerk could identify it, and we just, except for that big request from Kowalski back in '22, where he wanted all of my emails, for 2 years, which is fine, but prior to that, we never got the lawyer involved. And at that time, for some reason, Richard wanted him involved, and basically, I got those, and there was almost no redactions in there. They went through them to redact them, but there wasn't much, to even redact. So that might be one idea if the board's interested in just making a rule or policy or something that if the trustees ask for information, it's just assumed to be available and just provide it. And that's also, I can't remember the ordinance, but I think it's 115.12 or something under officers. It says that we should all cooperate for smooth operations of the village. So if someone, asks for information, well, cooperate, give them the information and move on with your day. And that just seems to be a much better means of getting things done instead of all this time and expense on that issue. Now, aside from that, we seem to be using the lawyer to, write ordinances, for that should be either the staff's job or the committee's job or something. And at most, have the lawyer review it. That would save quite a bit of money, I think. So I don't know what you guys think, but, these costs are just way out of hand. And if we're looking at, now APC, you guys, did you approve that 30,000 additional budget amendment? For
No,
legal?
I asked that to be.
No, she didn't.
Okay.
Put back until the 20th, cause
Well, that's
Pete and I
good.
still need to discuss.
Well, I think some of what you're saying, Ken, is I think some of that's gonna get fleshed out now that we have a new administrator.
Right.
So he's gonna be monitoring that stuff a lot closer to and I don't know that Leonard was on top of the legal bills maybe as good as he should have been.
Well, actually, I had asked Lisa, you know, how these things get authorized now that they're not using vouchers, and today she sent me a picture of this computerized system.
Right.
And he has to approve these checks, you know, he has to, for instance, these Von Briesen things, there's a process, it goes to the account clerk, and it goes to him for approval, and then it goes to Lisa.
Well, I'm not saying I don't know that he was looking at us. My comment is, I'm not sure how in depth he was getting into the items.
Well, okay, but now I got that letter in the packet that I sent to him April 30th, kind of explaining the whole situation on how it was that he even contracted with them, when the normal process is to go through a committee and the board, you know, for a contract. And that, for some reason, was bypassed. So we've got a lot of issues to look at here, and I just don't know if everyone else is concerned about it as I am, you know?
I like everybody is concerned about it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not concerned about it, but you sure you want all of the, line items from May published? Cause some of these, I would say actually calculated out, just under 60% of them have to do with either Wisconsin Elections Commission's complaints and your records requests relating to that.
Right, yeah, he's got Charneski all over these invoices, you know, if that's what you're getting at. And,
Well,
and the thing about the
If you're in
election
an active
commission,
complaint and lawsuit, right? You know, as the village has to be careful what they're providing, right? You're a party to the lawsuit, but also on the board of the party that's being sued.
yeah,
So that means, like, unfortunately, there's gonna be a massive expense with that legally, figure out what can be shared and not shared.
well, there's not that.
And where the conflict of interest might be.
Well, in this case, this election commission thing, it seems to be a lot, basically creating a defense. And to my knowledge, if any one of us were to have a complaint like that, we would be entitled to, you know, the legal services from the insurance company, right? Don't they cover, you know, lawsuits like that?
Only
I don't know what the rule is on it.
Well, I don't either. That's part of this discussion, is to find out why.
Well, the records lawsuit, like, right, that was explained to us by, Lee with it, right? Until the insurance company and our insurance kicks in, we're on the hook for all those costs.
Well, that's, kind of makes the insurance useless.
Well, it's per incident, I mean, you know, your house burns down, if your deductible is $5,000, you know, it's not useless. Covers for catastrophic amounts, but you still gotta pay up.
Well, I don't know, whenever he told you that, I wasn't there, so I don't know what he said about that. But seems to me if you have insurance and there's a complaint, and if you're.
I think maybe the difference is complaint versus a lawsuit. Because the mandamus thing is a lawsuit, filed in county court. The elections thing is just filed with the election committee, so it's not
Well, and then that
it's
would
not a
be-
legal issue, I don't think. That's why the insurance wouldn't cover.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because someone put on public comment, something to the effect of why are there any legal fees at all on a complaint like this, where one side gives their complaint, and then the other side gives the facts of what they did and didn't do, and then let the commission decide. You know, is this something that we even needed a lawyer involved with? Because I saw what he provided, and it's not worth it. To me, it's just not worth the kind of money he charged for it. But that's just me, you know. And things like that, you know, in there too, I suppose, Mr. Ludi approved that, you know, that to get the village attorney involved with that. And hopefully now with an administrator, he might kind of be a little more restrictive on that kind of stuff. I don't know, just wanted to bring this to the board, so hopefully we can stop this, hemorrhage or whatever you wanna call it, of money going for legal fees.
Do you think it would help if we had some kind of a policy that says legal bills will be released as for the records once they've been redacted? Would that help at all?
Well, this, right now, they're open to, as far as I know, they're open to the public. If someone called in, would you send them a invoice, or?
No, that's part of what I've been working on, is some of the, in fact, there's quite a bit of time related to all of the legal assessments, and then why we're doing them, and then, you know, how did they arise, what are the facts behind a lot of the information, and then the need for legal and opinion. So we're looking at several different things all at one time that are occurring, and then, you know, me, like I just put on the PowerPoint a while ago, was I'm trying to limit your risk. So, you know, what is it that's actually happening, you know, that kind of going back to these, and then are we doing it correctly? So, the real format, and I followed up with the, I'd have to dig through my notes here, but I did find a statute on redacting, and it would be appropriate by Wisconsin statute. So you just wouldn't turn over a bill to the public, so to speak. Kind of coming back to your comment, traditionally in a municipality, you know, a lot of information is shared with council members or aldermen or, you know, representative commissioners, that kind of thing. There's a little different format, and I understand why there's a chain of what gets distributed, you know, that kind of thing. What's for public consumption or not. And anyway, having said that, it's this thing of trying to get my arms wrapped around it, because at the same time you're reviewing, you're trying to say, okay, what's the real reality of what's happening too? You know, you're looking at it from, and I hate to say it, but kind of an investigator guy. You know, so you're trying to say, okay, what's the two sides of what's happening here? So I'm citing Wisconsin statute 905.03. And that's just something that I looked up about redaction and appropriate, and I'll share more with you sidebar, you know, after the meeting and so on. But it's also to say you're protecting, in some senses, the people that are involved in the casework. You know, if there's a lawsuit taken, who was the one that filed the complaint, and then you're also looking at those that may be affected, you know, by such litigation. So internally, it could be here and others, and you're trying to look out for, make sure that if there's something sensitive and confidential, that it's protected. So a lot of moving pieces that I walked into, and I thought, well, let me start from scratch. So I got out a notepad and started digging, and I'm missing a few documents, Ken. You know, I'm still missing a few things that I think I should have or review. And so I'm looking at all of that. The only thing I could say would be, you know, this might be something down the road that we discuss again. But, you know, I think that some of this needs to be, you know, more formalized. Maybe a good issue to be brought up, but right now we're all kind of swinging. I'm not sure there's a substantive basis. I get it, by the way. I'd much rather put 25 grand into something that provides more value than legal services. I'm with you on that, taxpayer wise.
Do we know if there's an end in sight on this on recent things?
I think within the next couple of weeks that there might be an end.
Wrapping it up, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, we got enough sunk into it. Well, I brought it up, like what I'm seeing, so.
And like I said, I guess I'd like to see like the result of the report.
You know, if you sign a contract, what are the receivables, deliverables, you should be entitled to that. I absolutely think so.
See, that's the thing, we don't know what the deliverables are, the scope of work, any of it, and none of it was approved by the board. We said to follow the handbook, and the handbook says nothing like this. It should have been wrapped up in within a matter of a few weeks by hiring one what do you call the guy?
Hearing officer.
Hearing officer. There's nothing in the Gen 009 about conducting investigations. So, and it's not just me, you know, it's hard for me to argue against this, but then you say, oh, well, he's just, you know, trying to cover himself. That's not the point. This whole process is gotten out of control, and the cost is out of control. So, I hope it can wrap up pretty quick.
I gotta say something on this, just to reiterate what Trustee Benvick had said. To be clear, on the Wolfgram legal bill, between your lawsuit, your WEC complaint, and their aspect of the complaint against you, you account for 60% of the bill. And then because the complaint is against you for Van Driesen, that's essentially 100% of the bill. Do you see the common denominator here? I'm just baffled by the fact that you're arguing something that you account for the vast majority of. I'm struggling to wrap my mind around it.
The mandamus was basically a public service. You know, I'm getting nothing out of it. I put myself at risk for that. I'm not charging the village, you know, for a $400 lawyer to sue the village.
The village still has to defend itself.
Well, right. But now in this case, you've got somebody filing a complaint, hiring a lawyer without authority to pursue the complaint.
Okay.
See, it's both sides.
But by the same token, you can't say that you're not getting anything out of it. In your writ of mandamus, you literally asked for damages. You literally did.
You have to.
No, you really don't.
Well,
you can ask for what you'd like to see, but you literally asked for punitive damages.
That's to prevent a recurrence of the same violations. And we're still getting these violations even during the lawsuit,
Because
so.
I get it, I get that, yes, our legal bills are going nuts. But I'm struggling to wrap my mind around that the vast majority of it revolves around one person, and it's the person asking, well, why are they so much? Well, I guess I'd say look in the mirror.
And as far as the election commission thing, that also is on behalf of the public. The question, to me, the question is not why was that filed, it's why wasn't, 6 other trustees filing it with me, because this was a serious matter. So from that standpoint, it was a matter of presenting information on one side, and then the other side presenting their information. They claim they got certain authority, and let the commission decide who's right, who's wrong. It didn't cost me anything with my time to present that. It shouldn't have cost the village all these many hours of a lawyer to defend only part of it. That part wasn't even necessary. And if we wanted the answer, I was told, if you don't like what I'm doing, file a complaint. So I did file a complaint. That's the only way we could get this resolved. I think I told you guys, I worked on this for a year, trying to get these things corrected on these elections, and it didn't happen.
Okay, and so you saying that there shouldn't be this much of a legal bill, that's your definitive legal opinion?
No, I don't have a legal opinion.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's my point.
Neither do you.
No, I don't. That's why you need an attorney.
Okay. If you're happy with
To defend the
paying
village,
an
I guess.
attorney,
Such
that's up to
things.
you.
So that's my point, is that you're arguing both sides of something that is just baffling to me. It's either you're on one side or you're the other. You can't straddle the middle. You just can't. You can't take action against the village and then act as a representative of the village and ask why the bill's so high.
Sure we can. I just did, and I tried to explain it.
Okay.
So is there anything else coming from this?
I don't know, I don't think anything came from
Well, in my opinion, I think, in an effort to protect the client-attorney privilege when it comes to lawyer billing and open records requests, I'm gonna make a motion that we redact the lawyer bills prior to releasing as public records to protect the client-attorney privilege.
That's already a given. Yeah.
Well,
So I
make
mean,
sure it's all on the second.
if there was anything in
There's
these
no
invoices
policy
that
that
you
says that.
have, it would have been redacted. If there was something that should have been, like say, somebody's medical record or whatever, personal phone numbers, stuff like that.
Well, I guess I just wanna make double sure that that's written somewhere so it says, hey, this is what you're gonna start doing.
Well, wasn't that part of your mandamus about you wanted all the attorney billings made perfectly open, because you didn't wanna come in to look at the full thing? If they email it to you and it becomes a public record, you wanna see the unredacted versions of the attorney look?
It's to make these expenses that the public is paying for available not only to us, but to the public. If they need redaction, then they get redaction. Most of them don't look like they need it, because that's how they're written. And as far as coming in to see it, there's no provision in law to put restrictions on it. Either it's something you can't see and you don't get it and you can't come in to see it, or you can see it and you can get copies of it. It's one or the other. You can't make up your own rules that, oh, you can see it, but you have to come in, or whatever, under our supervision, whatever. That's all in the suit. I tried to explain it. I know it's kind of long to read, but,
Like you were saying, you don't know if there needs to be that, I think, I mean, the President Bull was saying, that's why he's making the motion with the redactions on these, right? This has been an issue for the village before, your side, so I guess I'm confused why you'd say that it's not been an issue, when that was one of the parts of the mandamus lawsuit. I guess I'm, again,
okay,
confused.
these invoices that you see now, the Von Briesen, I asked for them, they were turned down, and then, I mean, my request was turned down, and then Mr. Ludi emailed Von Briesen, said, hey, somebody's asking to see these, can I show them to them? And they said, yeah. They said, check with your attorney. They checked with Teroni. Teroni says, yeah, give them to them. So if there was any need to, redact, that would have been Teroni's job to say, yeah, you can give it to them, but, they got to be redacted. But he didn't say that. So they are, they're public documents. They're open to the public, and the public should see them because they're paying for it. They're paying, $35,000 to Von Briesen for whatever they come up with. The public's paying for it, they should see the invoices. Same thing with all these charges from Teroni. I don't wanna take the time going through these itemized things, but I get back to the original concept that we never had to pay for all these legal fees for years, and we got by just fine. All of my requests for information, I've done that for years, it never cost the village anything. The only thing that changed is the lawyer wants to review them now, and we had a couple of administrators that, for whatever reason, they can't tell the time without checking with the lawyer. So that's how we got to where we are now. It never used to be this way.
All right, I made a motion, and I made a second to, have the legal bills properly redacted to retain contract privilege before they're released on the record. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carried. Anything else in this item? Okay, let's move on to item M, discussion action 2024 first quarter budget actual review.
So it looked like in the past you guys had treasurers that kind of gave a report that would kind of show comparison last year first quarter compared to this year first quarter, so that's kind of what I did again. Just giving you guys some information. The lines that are highlighted in yellow are the totals per fund. So you can just kind of compare where we were in 2023 compared to where we are in 2024.
And ABC looked at this the other night, and they thought it was pretty informative.
So it's just something I'll provide to you guys quarterly, just for comparison. And as our budget process gets smoother, it'll be more apples to apples than apples to oranges.
Yeah, I like the looks of it, I guess. One thing I wouldn't mind seeing is another column that has the beginning of the year, the original budget, because every time you do a budget amendment, it bumps it up, and
Yeah,
it looks like you're within budget, but you've already.
And we're gonna address that when we start talking about the 25 budget, because I'd like to change how some of that's gonna be done too. So.
Okay. The other thing, I guess, that would be helpful for the public is where you have these, highlighted lines of the total, for that fund. You got like fund number 452 or whatever. If you could put,
The names?
like TID 2
Yep.
or whatever.
No problem.
And that, I think would be helpful for people. Let's see, we did have a few issues here. Now, Now, there's miscellaneous bond, for the clerk and the treasurer. Last year was 110. I guess they didn't use any of it. This year is 150, but yet isn't that covered by our insurance anyway?
I believe that's just the part of the fee that comes out. Like, it's part of the insurance, but we allocate that part of the bill to them.
It's the premium.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, the last year, it was never used, right?
Well, again,
On
your
that
apples
page,
to oranges,
154.
I know, but your apples to oranges, when you're comparing, cause I don't know what was done.
So you're saying maybe it was paid in the.
It could have been paid in the wrong
third quarter.
account number and then was corrected later on. You know, remember when I started, I had to go back and do a lot of adjustments, a lot of journal entries, trying to code things that were done correctly, so.
Okay.
Looking at first quarter, maybe things weren't coded right, I don't know.
Okay, now I'm looking at, page 156, right at the top, major repairs. 2024 budget, we had 238,000.
Yep, so that, remember, that's the roof
Okay.
and the ADA doors.
Right,
That we
okay,
stuck to
so since the roof was covered by insurance, we're gonna have some extra there.
We had put that all into consideration when we did the budget, so the money that we got back from the insurance company goes into your insurance proceeds, which is up in your revenue, and then this is your expenditure.
So by the end of the year, that's gonna be zero.
Well, do the 238, cause I can't put the revenue back into that expenditure line.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. I think that's all I had marked on there.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna move on into item N, budget amendment number 4.
Okay, and on this one, Lisa, can you refresh my memory, from the ABC meeting? Why couldn't we take the funds from the payroll account for that?
So instead of instead of asking for the money to come out of the position that is vacant and that we're doing unemployment, when I go to budget next year, if I would ask for 15,000 to come out of that wage line and come down next year when we do our budget, it's going to look weird because now we're gonna be asking for 15,000 more in that line. So knowing that, again, going forward and things that we'll talk about in the 25 budget is stating that unemployment could go negative and we wouldn't need a budget amendment because I could do a report that just stated that, yes, unemployment's in the negative, however, this wage line is over and we're gonna have excess, so it's gonna offset itself. Kind of giving you guys explanations and not needing the budget amendments to make it all look pretty. So that you guys get a true picture on what you're overspending and what you're underspending from year
What
to
he just
year.
asked for just a minute ago.
Correct.
And then the unemployment, my understanding is because we don't pay unemployment insurance, so anyone who files, we just are on the hook for it.
I believe so.
Has anyone looked at whether maybe that was, well, the turnover we've had, obviously, I don't know if that's probably paid off for us. Hopefully we can stop it.
I don't know that, I couldn't tell you before the individual right now, I couldn't tell you the last time we paid out. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago?
About a year ago, we had a couple months.
You're calling. Yeah, that's finance person.
Yeah, it was like 2022.
Well, I thought that was like 2018.
No, it was before Richard left,
Alicia.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what.
That was after.
No, cause she had, that was the thing, she got a couple of jobs, but then came back to us for the unemployment.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, at like 2 years after she.
Yep, it was kind of a weird situation.
We still had to pay it, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, because it had to do a contract.
Yes, we did.
I'm the right person though.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wondering, like, maybe do we want to, like I said, I don't know how it feels that. to approve this budget amendment for. For $14,875.
Second. So you can.
Now, is this the maximum that we end up having to pay?
It's a little bit over the max when we're calculating it, but I was kind of basing, this was, when I looked at this, we were only a little bit and we were back paying. So I know it's gonna total, but I believe if you take like the maximum that they can get, it's like just under $11,000 or $12,000, so this would be a little bit
And it
over.
wouldn't made it any difference whether they had resigned or were terminated.
There's certain rules and regulations of how you can and cannot collect unemployment. So I'm not, based on each scenario.
So I need to resign, I don't think you're all right.
Unless even if you resign, there's like constructive dismissal.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, there's some stipulations for it, but yeah, usually you're right. Well,
Anything else? Alex made a motion, Kelly made second to approve budget amendment number 4, $14,875. Hearing nothing else, call the roll, please.
Chris Bull?
Yes.
Alex Medved?
yes.
Chris Iden?
Yes.
Kelly Coyle?
Yep.
Aaron Mishka?
Yes.
Cindy Buchowski Huffman?
Yes.
Ken Charneski?
Yes.
All right, motion carried, 7-0. Moving on, discussion action, FIN 1, credit card policy agreement.
So FIN 1, is just being updated. We no longer use the Villages Bank, we use US Bank. There's some items that the treasurer used to take care of, which now the account clerk actually helps do some of it. And then there's some changes with our new software, so just kind of updating the language a little bit to do what we currently follow for policy.
I make a motion, we approve FIN number 1 as presented.
Second.
All right, I made a motion, I made second to approve FIN 1 as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right, discussion action, FIN 2, employee sailor phone policy.
Same type of thing, with our cell phone policy, we have a few different options. There's the occasional user, frequent user, and then the village-owned, cell phone. So, just kind of updating a few of the languages and the new process of how things are done.
I'll make a motion, we approve FIN 2 as presented.
Second.
I made a motion, Kyle made second. Lisa, on the item on page 169, item number 3, can you make sure that font type's the same as the rest?
This, village-owned cell phone?
Yeah, font.
Yep.
The font type is different. Anything else? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, item Q, discussion and action, FIN 3, council family policy.
So this is the same thing with us using the My Viewpoint, just wanted to update the language so that you can kind of see how the process goes.
Ken, is this what you were talking about earlier today, that we weren't following, something wasn't following the policy? Because we hadn't updated the policy yet? Or was that a different policy? you're
Oh,
talking
well,
about?
that would fit, this contract, talk about the contract fund recently.
No, there was something you had emailed earlier today. Oh, maybe it was the payment process. You were talking about that today.
And that's what Lisa,
Sent you
was
something
talking
about
about,
this.
showing that we're not using vouchers anymore. I think that's,
Yeah, we're not.
this is having to get rid
Yep,
of the
this
voucher.
is, this is instead of the voucher, so you'll like see where most of it's crossed off, where like the invoice and the voucher form, we don't do that anymore, it all goes through the.
So I'll take care of this, you
Now, it should, I just wanna make sure that at the bottom of 174, that item, what is it, 1.2, all that stuff that's crossed out, you gotta make sure that's all accounted for somehow in this new system, cause that's all statutory. Some of that stuff
Are
comes
you
from
talking-
statute. So so.
Which part are you talking about?
The check amount matches the invoice.
Yep, that's all part of the program.
Okay.
So, like, we actually have it set up that you cannot, if the invoice is $200, when we put it in the system and you go to quote it and you put in 150, it actually flags and won't allow you to process.
And also, which is what we talked about in that email, that it is clearly authorized by somebody.
Correct, and it shows everybody, so, for example, if I am quoting something and I decide that it's not mine and it's Pete's, I can reassign it, it'll go over to Pete, he'll put his information and it'll bounce back to me. So it shows each and every hand that touches it.
Through the whole process, right?
Through the whole process.
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to approve Fin 3 as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, I made a motion, Aaron made a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. All right, discussion action, Fin 8, disposition of the credit card reward program.
So, the Fin 008 used to be that you would have to go through and kind of let the credit card company know how you wanted the rewards done. The report here is from US Bank telling you exactly how they do it, and it indicates that every 90 days that they automatically pay, and it goes directly into the village's bank account. So there's nothing that myself or an account clerk or anybody can actually do. The credit card actually mandates and does it their own way, so there's no reason for that Fin anymore because we don't have power over that. The credit card company automatically does it.
So the 5 years, we would just discontinue this policy. Any other comments?
I guess then I make a motion for the removal of Fin 008.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Kelly, second by Cindy to remove Fin 008 as a policy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right, moving on, item number 6, old business S. Discussion and action, resolution 2024-04, resolution of elected officials to the village board.
So this was brought back to the village board because Ken, had asked for it to be brought back. There was a misunderstanding on what exactly this was, so to put it, plain, you guys have the resolution for the committees every year. So this is kind of similar to that. If you look where it says Wisconsin Town Law Forms, they do something similar to this as well. This is an excellent way for the clerk to do time limit administrative record keeping. So if somebody asks me like, who's on a committee, when is their tenure done? I usually pull out the resolution and the answer is right there. This would be something new, that you guys could use if you passed it. It basically says, who was elected and then when their tenure is up. So, I mean, it's not something as forceful. An ordinance is just something for record keeping for the village as well as the clerk. So you can either make a motion to pass it or just don't do anything with it, with the resolution, if you wanna keep it old school.
Well, I myself don't see the reason for it at all. And it still has that weird line in there about, these elected officials are empowered to perform all acts professionally, necessary, and appropriately, all subjective words, to carry out the business of the village of Kronenwetter, subject to the direction and control of the village president.
Oh, we had that stricken out last time.
It's in there.
Well, I remember we talked about it before.
Yeah, I know,
Why
I
is it in
thought
there?
that's strange, and you're just not gonna get away with it, Chris. That's all I want you to try. So I don't know if we need to move to take no action, but, I think we should just move on without doing anything myself.
What's anybody else think?
Can we just approve it without the direction and control of who's president?
Well, what's the point of it? You know, it's just not, she says it's something new, but,
I said it would be something new.
well, it would be, yeah, right, if we approved it. We're elected, and, Aaron, me and Cindy, and we don't need, it says, the name below are now accepted as the current trustees. Well, we don't have to make a resolution that we're accepted, we are, if you like it or not, and it's the same with somebody else who's elected. It just seems, you know, superfluous, to even have it.
I know my email for like 2 months after I was elected was jstraub@kronenwetter.org on the website.
That's your alter ego.
It's never got, I mean, I don't know.
Well, how did that work?
If you looked like on the website, 'cause mine was the same
Yeah,
thing.
it said my
It
email,
would
but it
literally
links to a different,
show
yeah.
my email, but if you like ran your mouse over it to like what the link is, it was actually like mine was going to Kim Tapper, says was going to Joe Strauss.
Well,
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
yeah. So,
Well,
we got it fixed.
okay, but
So,
I just don't see a point in this thing. And the reason I brought it back, actually, the first time it came around was, Alex had delayed action on it. And then
well, just got
it
lost.
came and, I don't know what happened, but it was also, it also used to be called a resolution appointing elected officials or something like that. I don't have the original here, but this is slightly different than that original one.
Alright,
But the whole thing,
does he have a motion?
Nobody made a motion to
I'll make a motion to take no action.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion to honor second, take no action, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Okay, no opposed, moving on. Item number 7, the consent agenda, there's 4 things. Do you wanna take out, anybody want to take one out, any of them out specifically?
yeah, let's pull out you. Maybe.
Oh, I know you.
Yeah. Okay, well, for one thing, a reappointment like this should not be a consent agenda item. Secondly, you know, as we have heard in some of the public input and all that, there is discussion to be had on this, but it really is almost like it should be closed session, to go through some of this stuff. And you guys got the email from, Mr. Baker. He points out that if we delay, the reappointment, that doesn't mean, you know, these people are out of work. They can still do the job, they're just operating until we can, have enough facts to hold a vote to, you know, reappoint them or whatever.
Well, and the reason it's on here is because we were supposed to do it in April.
Right.
And it got missed, and that's why it's on here tonight, is so that we at least take up the resolution aspect of it, whether it's voted yes or no. That's why it's on here this evening.
Well, I guess as long as it's late, I would sooner delay it again to put it on the next agenda, probably, as a closed session item, so we can discuss some of the issues and make a decision.
I guess I'm looking at it, if we're gonna follow the lead of our new administrator, he's talking about starting fresh and lowering our swords. So I don't see the need to delay. I just don't see it. I think reappointment of both the treasurer and the village clerk is a suitable resolution in this case, so.
I move to reappoint village clerk Labarge and village treasurer Lisa Kirchner.
Yeah, before we go any further though, I think we're missing comments that we heard from our village residents.
Second.
I think that we need to put this on hold and have a closed session, because otherwise we're not listening to the voice of the people of the village.
Well, right, and there are issues, too many balls up in the air right now to make this decision. So I would just say, we'll hold off and we'll make a much more informed decision once we get more information coming in.
We got a motion and a second right now.
We don't have motions and seconds on other items before, we've always talked over it. I think this is very important.
Well, we can discuss the motion in a second, right?
Right.
And I wasn't barring or saying that, you know, I didn't call the question or anything. It wasn't any problem.
Right.
But-
The one thing that I have a problem with this resolution is the second whereas. It seems like it's kind of biased. Where it says that we wish to employ high-quality employees and provide those with exceptional work, it just seems like we don't need that sentence in there.
Well, right,
That's how it's been.
and I guess that's, there too, you know, gets back to some of the public comment about should this have been written by a person who is advocating reappointing themselves. So is that even, you know,
Well,
appropriate?
the clerk typically creates a resolution. I don't know that it was done with that specific
I
intent.
think in the past, I think Richard,
Sash did it
I think the administrator used to do it.
Well, Bobby should have been the one that Sash did. She did it last time.
Sash did it?
And I did my own first one too.
I guess
On
just for,
7/25 and 22.
I guess just for the record, we should find out who really is supposed to do it. You know, I'm just saying, just because we've done it in the past, just because it might be wrong, we should, just because we've done it, doesn't mean we should keep doing it. We should definitely check it out to make sure we're doing it right.
So Pete, did Lee happen to mention anything about that? Who creates resolutions for appointments or anything?
It tends to lean towards the clerk on most resolutions, and, you know, where I've been before and how things are done, it could be done either way with the administrator or clerk putting it together. It's not a law, there's not a statute that says the clerk can't produce, in this case, her own resolution, there's not that.
She's the official records keeper of the village, right? That's the associate.
Custodian of records.
Yeah, we did that.
So could she, like, if you don't want her to sign it or attest, could she designate the deputy clerk to do that?
Yeah, that would be.
That'd be more, I think it would be more expected, right? That you wouldn't sign it, you would have like that.
Well, I guess what Guy had mentioned in open public comment, you know, he did discuss this, that it really, he had some issues with that, just in how the wording was, who's doing it, so I mean, I guess I don't remember exactly everything he said, but, I really think we should figure it out first, to be honest.
Well, we do have a motion and second. Is there any discussion?
Well, that's why I'm wondering if we have the deputy clerk attest it, then it doesn't really matter who wrote this document, right? The board can approve what it wants to approve. I mean, as amended.
So does that mean you wanna amend your motion to include the
Yes.
deputy clerk attest this?
Yeah, yes.
So the motion, as I understand it, would be to approve the appointments of Lisa and Bobby as presented and have the deputy clerk attest to.
Yes.
I still think we should table it tonight, because I still think we're not taking into consideration public comments. I think that we need to meet as a board and review the concerns that were brought up.
Any other discussion? All right, go ahead and call the roll, please, Logan.
Cindy Buchowski Huck.
No.
Ken Charneski.
No.
Chris Iden.
No. Oh,
Chris Bull.
hang on. You said Chris Iden, but Aaron answered.
No.
No.
I didn't.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
answered.
Chris answered.
Well, I was looking, it sounded like Aaron, I'm sorry.
Chris Bull.
Yes.
Kelly Coyle.
Yes.
Aaron Mishka.
Yes.
Alex Vedvik.
Yes.
All right, motion carried, 4-3.
No.
No, it's gotta be
2/3.
2/3.
Oh, that's right. Sorry about that. All right, so. So you wanna make the-
Yes, Chris, you just wanted to see who should rate this, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everything, get the more information. I mean, the whole thing that I'm kinda worried about is that, we've been doing this for years, and I've actually had residents call me up, they're like, do we even have to do this? Did this come from a state law? Is this from something from the old township? And I just wanted all the details. I don't know every single detail on this, and I would just really like to understand it, cause I honestly just don't know all the information.
Well, like I say, there's a lot of information that needs to be discussed on it. This isn't just a slam dunk,
So, I mean, some of the information you're bringing up, though, is it, with closed session doesn't really relate.
Under the same heading as if you were talking about evaluation. It should be covered under the same exemption. So as it is now, I mean, you can continue doing your work as, de facto, and we'll just have to, talk about it some other time.
So, if you have a comment.
Yes, maybe the best way to proceed would be to let me do my independent review, if you will, and just kind of walk through all the different phases of what's been brought up here. Kind of going through your village statutes, what exists there. I've looked at it, reviewed it, and, these appointments are a part of the process and when it happens, so we know that it's there. I have no doubt that, this is, what happens. It even addresses, by the way, and I do have a copy of that. I did go ahead and collect, not knowing what would happen, but if it turns out that like right now, you're not appointing at this point, their jobs, both of them continue to go forward until such time that you do the appointment that's appropriate for you all. So, I mean, I can walk through several different things that have been brought up and listen to the minutes if you want, and then bring you back, the guidelines for that. But there's nothing here that's abnormal as far as having the clerk's name even on their own attestment. That's not wrong. Who prepared it, that's not wrong. This is fairly administrative in the background, to include if somebody doesn't get appointed, there is a part of the statute that allows them to continue in employment until such time that they are appointed, so it's not a dead end here.
Right.
So it sounds like you have done some research on
No, he just knows that stuff.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure I know every detail, cause like I said, I just don't know enough about it.
So what are we doing? Well, still don't have an action.
I thought we were done.
No, we had a motion, got voted down, so
In 2/3.
we need some other direction of some kind. We haven't decided
Well,
anything.
it was voted down, so, like you said, they can continue with their work.
I believe what we end up, we're gonna just simply to direct him to do what he needs to do, and then.
If we don't take a motion, we're not gonna do anything with this, we'll just sit there and they won't be appointed, and we won't have any direction to take up to whether they're reappointed or not.
Well, let's let's bring it back. I'll move that we bring the issue back at the first July meeting.
I'll second that.
I move to amend that motion to the next scheduled meeting in June. I guess that wouldn't be the special meeting, the regular meeting, 24th.
Ken's motion was gonna be on the 8th.
Yeah.
July 8th.
And move to amend his motion to have it on June 24th.
Right, the way it come off, it'd be 2 weeks. I think that gives Mr. Kemper more than enough time to do what background he would need to do, so I would second Alex's amendment.
I'd sooner wait. I got my motion, so.
All right, so the amendment is to bring that back on the 24th. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
No.
Say no, I'd rather just wait and get all information.
No,
All right, so we're gonna push it out to July 8th.
That was only 3 to know.
This wasn't the appointments, you don't need 2/3. We have 4 votes.
We're talking about when we're gonna talk about it next.
Yeah, so we voted on the 24th, it was 4 to 3 on the 24th.
Right, so you didn't need 2/3 because we're not actually reappointing, so we had a majority agreeing on the 24th.
Okay. So now we have to vote on the original amendment, or sorry, the original motion of July, which would be no.
Right.
All right, so then you have,
What do you do now?
so the amendment was to move the date up, so that passed. I don't know, do we need to vote on the original motion then, since it Joe passed?
Well, that's an amendment. So.
Technically, you still need to vote on the amendment. That's where I'm going, right?
I think we have to vote whether we, now the motion is to actually move it to the 24th. This fails, then the whole motion.
Can't I just rescind my second?
You could.
Rescind my second since we're gonna do it in June? Yeah, that was voted on.
Well, I think that kills the total.
That's, yeah, so if you're saying your motion, so that kills your amendment.
That kills everything.
No, they're supposed to amend the motion as amended.
Well, if somebody's making a fresh motion.
Okay, well, I move we delay action to the June 24th meeting.
Second.
All right, so the motion is June 24th. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
All right, so I voted no, so now the motion.
Oh, you jumped.
Okay, so the motion fails, because I would prefer July as well.
I move that we delay action until the first meeting.
Because why do you want it on July 8th?
I'll second the motion, let's just, yeah.
Why do you want it on July 8th?
just keep it later.
I just wanna make sure it gets included, just keep.
What?
Need more time.
So I would prefer easier.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, got it, we're good.
Got it.
Fine.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So it just occurred to me, as we were doing something, I remember.
Okay, so,
Okay, so
Yeah, so the motion was July 8th.
first meeting in July.
I'll second
All right. So we have a motion, a second for the first meeting in July. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. All right, the rest of the items you can consent agenda. Anything there specific, or can we approve all as presented?
Well, if you hang on a second, I had some comments on the minutes.
So do you see Bobby's
No.
update on the minutes? Okay.
We're The minutes are on the consent agenda, right?
They are. And I asked you if you saw Bob's update.
Yeah, that was for the citizen email.
Right.
I thought I had something extra there.
I think we're on W, are we on W?
Oh, page 193, administrative report. It said the administrator noted the rationale behind hiring the Von Gleason law firm per the village handbook. I listened to that and like I said earlier, he said he would hand off the information in the exit interview when I asked him that, so that, I think that'd be more accurate. And farther up under Joel Straub's, input, he got his name spelled wrong in about the middle of the paragraph. That's the main thing, was Moody's reply. He didn't really give us a rationale, he just kinda said he'd tell us later.
Anything else for the minutes? All right, so I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I move we approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second. All right, Ken made a motion, I made a second to approve the minutes as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, what about items T and V?
I move we approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Second. Good motion by Alex, second by Chris to approve the rest of the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll, please.
Chris Wolf,
Yes.
Alex Medbeck,
Yes.
Chris Iden.
Yes.
Kelly Coyle,
Yes.
Aaron Mishka,
Yes.
Cindy Uchowski Hoffman.
Yes.
Ken Charnes.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Moving on to item 8, previous meeting minutes. We have ABC minutes from May 22. Questions, comments? All right, thank them. May 7th, utility committee minutes. Questions or comments? I will thank them. Special ABC meeting minutes from April 30. Questions or comments? Thank them. April 29th, planning commission minutes. Questions or comments? Thanks them. Joint ABC UC minutes for April 16th. Questions or comments?
I have a comment. If I may. It is listed under item Y that the RFP was to be delayed until 2024 is what the minutes say, and it should be 2025, because we already passed 2024 at that point.
All right. And then ABC minutes from March. Questions, comments? All right. Thank them for the minutes. All right, item number 9, consideration motion to go into closed session pursuant to West Act 1985-1C for consideration, employment, promotion, conversation, performance, evaluation, or which government by a jurisdiction, actually, with police attendance, annual evaluation, and pay increase to wit, also review and discuss performance evaluation with the legal director. For motion and second.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Kevin, any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Ken Charnes.
Yes.
Cindy Uchowski Hoffman. Yes. Aaron Mishka.
Yes.
Kelly Coyle.
Yes.
Chris Iden.
Yes.
Alex Medbeck.
Yes.
Chris Wolf.
Yes, very much carried. We're closed.